The desert wind screamed across the high plains that morning, but Sam Bridger only heard one sound, his son dying. Henry's cries cut through the silence on the church steps like a blade. 8 months old, lips cracked white, fists clenched so tight his tiny nails drew blood on his palms. Sam knelt on the stone, shirt soaked through with sweat and spoiled goat milk, and held the boy toward Widow Martinez. "Please," he said, "just once." She backed away. So did Mrs. Colton. So did Senora Vega, clutching her own infant tight. "Apache killed 3 of ours last month," Martinez said, loud enough for the whole boardwalk to hear. "You want us to feed yours?" The women turned. Their skirts swished across the dust. Boots scraped. Silence settled like ash. Across the street, Marcus Holloway leaned against his land office window, watching. "You Bridgers always did have a soft spot for strays," he called. "Gonna cost you, Sam." Then the dust cloud rose on the Mesa Road. Sam stood, shielding Henry from the sun. The silhouette moved slow down the Mesa Road. Someone on foot, not horseback. Strange for midday heat. Strange for this stretch where nothing lived but rattlesnakes and regret. The figure resolved as it approached the gate. A woman, dark hair loose past her shoulders, no bonnet, rough wool skirt, cotton blouse, stained dark at the chest. And in her arms, 2 bundles, 2 babies. The crowd on the boardwalk went silent. She stopped at the hitching post where Sam's mare stood tied. Her eyes swept the horizon once, sharp and quick before settling on Sam. On Henry. On the way the boy's head lolled against his father's chest, too weak to scream anymore. "Your son," she said. Her English carried the rhythm of Spanish underneath. "He needs milk." Sam's throat closed. "Yes." She walked forward. The crowd parted, but their stares followed, taking in her bronze skin, her Apache features, the way she moved like she expected a blow, but wouldn't flinch from it. "I have milk," she said simply. Then her gaze dropped to the second baby in her arms. Slightly older, darker-skinned, black hair thick as brush. "He needs it too," someone behind Sam hissed. "Apache," another voice. "Half-breed, more like." The woman's jaw tightened, but she didn't turn, just looked at Sam with eyes that asked a question he didn't know how to answer. Henry whimpered, a thin, desperate sound. Sam made his choice. "Sit," he said, gesturing to the church steps. She sat, unbuttoned her blouse, without ceremony, without shame. The crowd gasped. Mrs. Colton clutched her pearls. But the woman ignored them all. She held out her arms. Sam placed Henry into them. The baby rooted instinctively, found her breast, latched. The first pull was desperate, the second longer. By the third, Henry's fists unclenched. His breathing evened. The sound of him drinking filled the silence like a hymn. Tears streaked down Sam's face before he could stop them. The woman's own eyes glistened. She looked down at Henry, then at the second baby still cradled in her other arm, and something in her expression cracked. Not broke, cracked, like ice under pressure, revealing water underneath. Father Dunstan emerged from the church doorway, white-haired, bent with age, eyes sharp as ever. He carried a tin cup of water and offered it to the woman without a word. She took it, drank, whispered, "Gracias." "De nada, hija," he said softly. Then to Sam, "Bring her to the ranch. She'll need somewhere to stay." Sam nodded, couldn't speak, couldn't look away from Henry's face. Peaceful now, fed, alive. After a few minutes, the woman switched babies. Henry dozed against her shoulder while she nursed the other child. Same desperate latching, same relief washing over small features. The boy's breathing synchronized, soft and steady. "What's his name?" Sam asked, nodding to the second baby. "Dakota," she said, then quieter. "It means friend to everyone. I hoped it would protect him." "From what?" Her eyes flicked to the horizon again. That scanning movement, like a hawk watching for predators. "From men who think children are property," she said. The way she said it, flat, factual, made Sam's gut clench. But before he could ask more, Holloway's boots clomped across the dirt street. "Well, well," Holloway said, stopping at the base of the steps. 52 years old, face like tanned leather, eyes like a banker counting coins. "Mighty charitable of you, Bridger, taking in strays." He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "Hope the good Lord remembers it when the bank comes calling." Sam stood. "Got something to say, Marcus?" "Just admiring your compassion." Holloway tipped his hat to the woman, mockery in the gesture. "Ma'am, welcome to San Miguel. I run the land office, handle homestead claims, property transfers. If you're planning to stay, you'll want to register with me. The woman met his gaze without blinking. I'm not staying. No. Holloway's smile widened. Well, we'll see. He turned, spurs jingling, and walked back toward his office. Behind him, the crowd began to disperse, whispers trailing like smoke. Sam helped the woman to her feet. Both boys slept now, curled against her like they'd been born to her arms. I'm Samuel, he said. Sam. Ayanna. You got somewhere to go? She looked at him for a long moment, weighing something, then shook her head. Then you'll come to the ranch, Sam said. Just until... He stopped. Until what? Until Henry could drink goat milk? Until she found somewhere else? Until the town stopped staring? Until the boys are stronger, Ayanna finished for him. He nodded, grateful she'd given him the words. Father Dunstan touched Sam's shoulder. I'll ride out tomorrow, check on you. Appreciate it, Father. Sam untied his mare, helped Ayanna onto the saddle. She held both boys with practiced ease, like she'd carried the weight of the world in her arms before and knew how to balance it. As they rode past the church, Sam glanced back. The branding iron leaned against the hitching post where he'd left it that morning. His father's iron, unused since the old man died, rusting, forgotten. He'd meant to take it to the blacksmith for repair. Instead, he left it there. They rode toward the ranch in silence. Behind them, the church bell tolled noon, and across the street, Marcus Holloway stood in his office window, watching them disappear into the dust. The ranch sat 3 miles east, where the mesa broke into red clay cliffs and the cottonwoods clustered around a spring that never ran dry. Sam's grandfather had claimed it in '48, back when the territory belonged to Mexico, and a man's word still meant something. His father had built the barn, dug the well, carved the brand into every fence post. Sam had inherited it all, the land, the debts, the ghosts. He helped Ayanna down from the mare. She held both boys against her chest, their heads tucked under her chin. The afternoon sun beat down like a hammer, but she didn't complain, just stood there, taking in the cabin, the failing vegetable patch, the barn with its sagging door. It's not much, Sam said. It's more than I had this morning. He showed her inside. One main room, kitchen table, iron stove, rocking chair by the hearth. His bedroom door stood closed. He hadn't opened it since Anna died. Couldn't bear to see her things still scattered like she'd just stepped out for water. In the corner sat 2 cradles. One Henry slept in every night, hand-carved pine with the Bridger brand burned into the headboard. The other sat empty, half-finished. Sam had been making it before Anna's fever took her, before he realized one child was all he'd ever have. Ayanna noticed them both, ran her fingers over the unfinished carving, a horse mid-gallop, mane flowing. You made these? My father taught me, said a man who can't work wood can't build anything that lasts. She set the boys down gently, one in each cradle. They fit perfectly, like the wood had been waiting for them. Henry in his familiar bed, Dakota in the one meant for a ghost. I can finish it, Ayanna said quietly. The carving, if you have tools. Sam looked at her. You know woodwork? The mission sisters taught me before... She stopped. Her hand went to her throat, touching something hidden under her collar. Before everything. He didn't push, just nodded and pulled the carving tools from a shelf, handed them over, their fingers brushed. Hers were calloused, warm, trembling slightly. That night, after the boys were fed and sleeping, Sam made coffee on the stove. Ayanna sat by the unfinished cradle, knife moving in small, precise strokes. Wood shavings curled at her feet, releasing the smell of fresh pine. You don't have to work, Sam said. You're a guest. I'm not a guest. I'm a woman who needs a roof. She didn't look up from the carving. And women without men don't get roofs for free. Not in this world. I'm not asking for anything. I know. The knife paused. That's why I'm staying? The silence stretched. Outside, a coyote yipped. The windmill creaked. Somewhere in the dark, cattle lowed. Why were you walking alone? Sam asked. Where'd you come from? Ayanna's hand stilled. For a moment, he thought she wouldn't answer. Then she set down the knife and reached for something inside her blouse, pulled out a small cloth bundle, unfolded it. Inside, a piece of paper, official-looking, with a government seal. San Carlos Reservation, she said. 60 miles north. They took Dakota 3 months ago, said I was unfit, said half-breed children belonged to the state, not their mothers. Her voice stayed flat, controlled. I got him back 2 weeks ago. Been walking since. Sam's chest tightened. How'd you get him back? I didn't ask permission. The paper in her hand was a seizure order. He could see that much even in the dim light. Property of the Bureau of Indian Affairs. One male infant. Approximate age, 7 months. Jesus, Sam breathed. They'll come looking, Ayanna said. Eventually, when they do, she refolded the paper, tucked it away. I'll go. I won't bring trouble to your door. What about the other baby? Sam asked. Henry? She looked at the cradles. Both boys slept with their fists curled identically, faces peaceful. I found him, she said. 3 days ago, by a creek bed. Wrapped in a blanket, burning with fever. No one around for miles. I waited. No one came. She met Sam's eyes. So I fed him, kept him alive. What else was I supposed to do? Sam thought about the church steps, the women turning away, the sound of Henry's desperate cries. You did right, he said. She almost smiled. Almost. The next morning, Sam was splitting kindling when the horse approached. He knew the rider before he looked up, that particular rhythm of expensive boots on expensive leather. Marcus Holloway dismounted slow, making a show of it. Behind him, a younger man in a clerk's vest carried a leather folder. Morning, Sam, Holloway said, cheerful, dangerous. Marcus. Brought some paperwork for you, official business. He nodded to the clerk, who opened the folder and pulled out a document. Homestead Review, due this month as it happens. Lucky I remembered. Sam took the paper, read it. His hand started shaking halfway through. This says you need to prove productive family use of the land, Holloway finished. That's the law, Sam. Homestead Act of 1862. Land granted to family units demonstrating agricultural productivity and moral fitness. He smiled. You got a family unit I don't know about. Sam's jaw clenched. My son, your infant son, Holloway gestured to the cabin. Raised by a bachelor father who can barely keep him fed. That's not a family unit, Sam. That's a charity case. He pulled another paper from the folder. And, speaking of charity, your bank loan, due in 90 days. That's $200 plus interest. 800, Sam said. The loan was 800. Was it? Holloway's smile didn't waver. Funny, my ledger says different. Compound interest, Sam. Your daddy understood how numbers work. The clerk handed over a second document. Sam scanned it, seeing numbers that didn't match his memory, dates that felt wrong, signatures that looked right, but... You've got 30 days, Holloway said. Prove you're running a proper family homestead, or the land reverts to open claim. He glanced toward the cabin, where Ayanna stood in the doorway with both boys in her arms. And I got 6 families ready to buy the moment you forfeit. He mounted his horse, tipped his hat. Best of luck, Sam. You're going to need it. They rode off, leaving dust and the smell of bay rum cologne hanging in the air. Sam stood there, papers in his hands, watching them disappear down the mesa road. Behind him, Ayanna's voice came soft. How long do we have? He turned. She held the boys like shields, her face calm but her eyes knew what men like Holloway could do. 30 days, Sam said. She nodded. Once, like she'd expected it. From the fence post, a hammer rang. The clerk had nailed something there on his way out. Sam walked over. An eviction notice, stamped and dated, fluttering in the hot wind. 30 days to prove he was a family man. He looked back at Ayanna, at Henry, at Dakota. Reckon that ain't much time, he said. Ayanna shifted both boys to one arm, used her free hand to pull the eviction notice off the nail. Then we better not waste it, she said. Father Dunstan arrived the next morning with a leather satchel and worry lines deeper than Sam remembered. The old priest dismounted slow, joints creaking, and tied his horse to the post where the eviction notice had hung. Ayanna had burned it in the stove the night before. Sam had watched the paper curl and blacken, wondering if defiance felt this small for everyone. Saw Holloway in town, Dunstan said, skipping pleasantries. He's talking, loud. Let him talk. Sam. The priest's voice carried weight. He's saying you're harboring a fugitive. Saying the Apache woman is trading milk for shelter. Saying... He glanced toward the cabin where Ayanna was nursing the boys. Saying things I won't repeat in front of her. Sam's fists clenched. What's he want? Your land. Same thing he's wanted since your father died. Dunstan pulled a small cloth pouch from his satchel. It clinked. Church discretionary fund. $400. It's meant for widows and orphans. He pressed it into Sam's hands. Those boys qualify. Sam stared at the pouch. $400. Not enough to cover the loan, but enough to buy time. Maybe. I can't take charity, Father. It's not charity. It's what the money's for. Dunstan's eyes softened. Your pride won't feed Henry, son. The cabin door opened. Ayanna stepped out with both boys asleep in a cloth sling across her chest, some kind of Apache carrier, ingenious in its simplicity. She'd tied her hair back with a strip of leather, and in the morning light, Sam could see the exhaustion around her eyes. Father, she said, nodding respect. Daughter. Dunstan studied her. You know what they're saying in town? I know what men like Holloway always say about women like me. Her voice carried no bitterness, just fact. Does it matter? It matters to the law. Dunstan pulled another paper from his satchel. Sam's homestead claim requires proof of a productive family unit. Right now, he's a widower with an infant. That's not enough. So he needs a wife, Ayanna said. The word hung in the air like smoke. Sam shook his head. I'm not. Anna's only been gone 4 months, Dunstan finished gently. I know. And I'm not suggesting you dishonor her memory, but there's legal marriage, and then there's... He paused, choosing words carefully. There's what the law recognizes versus what God recognizes. Sometimes they're not the same thing. Ayanna shifted the boys higher on her chest. You want me to pretend to be his wife? I want you both to survive, Dunstan said. And right now, that means giving Holloway less ammunition. No, Sam said. Flat, final. I won't ask her to play that part, won't ask her to... He couldn't finish. The thought of using Ayanna like a legal prop, like something to be displayed and dismissed, made his stomach turn. Then what will you do? Dunstan asked. Silence. The windmill creaked. A crow called from the barn roof. Ayanna touched Sam's arm, brief, deliberate. There's another way, she said. In my tribe, we have adoption ceremonies. When a child loses parents, another family takes them in. It's witnessed, recognized, sacred. She looked at Dakota, then at Henry. What if we did that? Made them brothers, legally? Dunstan's eyebrows rose. Adoption, yes, that could work. If Sam adopts Dakota, you become family by extension, joint guardianship. He pulled at his beard, thinking. There's precedent. William Chen, the notary, he helped a Chinese family adopt a white orphan 2 years back. The homestead office accepted it. Chen, Sam said. He's in town. Has a shop on 2nd Street. Does notary work, keeps records. Dunstan smiled faintly. And he's got no love for Holloway. Land speculator tried to run him out last year, claim his property under some territorial law. Chen fought it with paperwork. Won. Sam looked at Ayanna. You'd agree to this? Letting me adopt Dakota? You saved Henry's life, she said simply. I saved yours. Maybe that makes us even. Or maybe, she hesitated, maybe it makes us something else. The boys stirred in the sling, making small noises. Ayanna hummed, low and rhythmic, and they settled. Sam recognized the melody from the ride home yesterday. Apache lullaby. Same tune his mother used to hum, different words. I don't know your songs, he said quietly. I'll teach you. She met his eyes. If you want to learn. Something shifted in his chest. Not love, not yet, but the shape of something that could become it, given time and water and care. All right, he said. We see Chen. We do this right. Dunstan clapped his shoulder. I'll come with you. Witness the paperwork. He glanced at Ayanna. But there's something you should know. Territorial law, it's complicated for Apache people. You can't own property here. Can't file claims. The law sees you as... He struggled with the words. As less than human, Ayanna finished. I know. I've read the laws. The mission sisters taught me. Sam's head snapped up. You can read? Spanish and English, some Latin. She smiled, bitter. Surprised? No, I just... He stopped. Realized how much he didn't know about her. How much he'd assumed. The sisters wanted to save my soul, Ayanna said. I let them teach me to read so I could understand the laws being used against my people. She touched the paper hidden under her blouse, Dakota's seizure order. Knowledge is the only weapon they can't take from you. Dunstan nodded slowly. Then you understand what we're up against. I understand that men like Holloway use law like a knife, she said, but knives can be turned around. That afternoon, they rode into town, Sam, Ayanna, both boys, and Father Dunstan on his tired mare. William Chen's shop sat between the feed store and a boarded-up saloon, hand-painted sign in English and Chinese characters. Chen & Sons, Notary, Records, Translations. A bell chimed as they entered. The shop smelled of ink and old paper and jasmine tea. Chen emerged from the back room, 45 years old, wire-rimmed spectacles, hands stained with ledger work. Father Dunstan, he said, then looked at Sam. Ayanna, the babies. His expression didn't change, but something flickered in his eyes. Understanding, maybe, or recognition of familiar desperation. Mr. Chen, Sam said, we need your help. Chen gestured to chairs. Then sit, and tell me everything. So they did, and while they talked, while Chen pulled law books from shelves and traced territorial codes with ink-stained fingers, while Ayanna nursed the boys and Dunstan kept watch at the window, Marcus Holloway walked past outside, stopped, looked through the glass, smiled, and kept walking. Chen's fingers traced the Homestead statute, moving from line to line like a man defusing a bomb. Sam watched the notary's face, calm, methodical, the face of someone who'd learned to read law the way other men read weather. Here, Chen said finally, tapping a paragraph. Family unit includes adoptive relations, provided proper documentation and witness testimony. He looked up. But there's a problem. There always is, Ayanna said quietly. Chen pulled another book from the shelf. Territorial Code, 1876 edition, flipped to a marked page. Apache individuals cannot hold property rights in New Mexico territory, cannot file claims, cannot adopt under territorial law, cannot... He stopped. I'm sorry, the law is clear. So she can't adopt Henry, Sam said. And you can't adopt Dakota in a way that gives her legal standing. Chen removed his spectacles, rubbed the bridge of his nose. The law is designed to prevent exactly what you're trying to do. Father Dunstan leaned forward. What about joint guardianship? Sam adopts Dakota, but Ayanna retains maternal rights. Maternal rights require proof of legal marriage or blood relation. Chen's voice stayed even, professional. Without either, she has no standing. In the eyes of the law, she's a property, Ayanna finished. Or close enough. The shop went quiet. Outside, wagons rattled past. Someone shouted about the price of feed. Normal town sounds, normal day, except nothing about this was normal. Henry fussed in Ayanna's arms. She shifted him, began nursing. The sound of him drinking filled the silence. Small, wet, alive. Chen watched her for a moment, then looked at Sam. There is one option, he said slowly. It's not clean, it's not guaranteed, but it's something. Tell me. If you marry her, truly marry her, not just on paper, then Dakota becomes your stepson automatically. You'd have legal grounds to petition for formal adoption, and she'd have standing as your wife. Chen held up a hand, and held up a... But it would have to be real, witnessed, recorded. Holloway would challenge anything that looked like performance. Sam's throat went dry. Marriage. It's the only way to make her legally part of the family unit. Chen looked at Ayanna. I know this isn't what you wanted. What I want doesn't matter, she said. Her voice carried no self-pity, just exhaustion. What matters is keeping Dakota safe, keeping Henry fed. She met Sam's eyes. I won't trap you into marriage. If there's another way... There isn't, Chen said gently. I've looked, believe me. Dunstan cleared his throat. I could perform the ceremony, tonight, if you're willing. Make it official before Holloway moves. Sam stood, walked to the window, stared out at the street, dust and horses and people going about their lives like the world wasn't splintering under his feet. Behind him, Ayanna's voice came soft. You loved your wife. Yes. And I'm not her. No. Then I'll go. The sound of her standing, preparing to leave. I'll take Dakota and... No, Sam turned. You'll stay. She froze. Sam. Not like this. He crossed back to her, hands shaking. Not because Chen says it's the only way. Not because Holloway's got us cornered. He looked at the boys, Henry in her arms, Dakota asleep in the cloth sling. You stay because those boys need you, both of them, and because... He stopped, swallowed. Because I need you to stay. Her eyes searched his face. You don't know me. I know you walked 60 miles to save your son. I know you fed mine when nobody else would. I know you're scared, but you don't run. His voice cracked. That's enough to start with. The shop stayed silent. Even the street noise seemed to fade. This isn't a real marriage, Ayanna said finally. It's a legal arrangement. For survival. Then that's what it is. And when Dakota's safe, when Henry's grown, when you don't need me anymore? Sam didn't have an answer. Couldn't promise forever, when he still wore Anna's ring on a chain under his shirt. Chen broke the silence. I'll prepare the documents. Marriage certificate, adoption petition, homestead amendment. It'll take 3 days. We don't have 3 days, Sam said. Holloway gave us 30. We're already at 28. Then I'll work fast. Chen was already pulling forms, his abacus clicking. You'll need witnesses. At least 3, preferably 5. People Holloway can't intimidate. I'll stand witness, Dunstan said immediately. And I, Chen added. My wife as well, if needed. That's 3. Sam looked at Ayanna. Anyone else? She shook her head. Everyone I knew is dead or on the reservation. The shop door chimed. They all turned. A young man stood in the doorway, clerk's vest, nervous eyes, same one who'd carried Holloway's papers to the ranch. Mr. Chen, he said, breathless. I need... He saw Sam, stopped. Oh. Thomas, Chen said carefully. What can I do for you? The clerk, Thomas, glanced at Sam again, at Ayanna. Something flickered across his face. Not hostility, something else. I need a document witnessed, he said. But I can come back. What document? Chen asked. Thomas pulled a folded paper from his vest, handed it over. Chen read it, eyebrows rising. This is a statement, Chen said slowly, regarding discrepancies in Mr. Holloway's ledger entries. Yes, sir. Thomas's voice shook. I've been keeping books for him 2 years, and the numbers, they don't match. Loans recorded one amount, but the contracts say different. Dates changed. Interest calculated wrong. He looked at Sam. Your loan, Mr. Bridger, it wasn't $2,200, it was $800. I saw the original document. Mr. Holloway added the extra $400 last month. Backdated it. The room went still. Why are you telling me this? Sam asked. Because my sister died on the reservation, Thomas said quietly. Fever took her 2 years back. They wouldn't let me bring her home for burial. Said she was federal property once she crossed that line. His eyes went to Ayanna. I don't know you, ma'am, but I know what Holloway does, and I'm tired of helping him do it. Chen set the statement down. This is evidence of fraud. Yes, sir. You understand what this means? If Holloway finds out you testified, I'll lose my job, maybe worse. Thomas straightened. But I'll sleep better. Sam looked at the clerk, barely 20 years old, scared but standing firm. The kind of courage that came from watching too many people get crushed and finally saying enough. Thank you, Sam said. Thomas nodded once and left. Chen picked up the statement, reading it again. This changes everything. With this we can... The shop window exploded. Glass shattered inward, spraying across the floor. Ayanna screamed, curling over the boys. Sam threw himself forward, shielding her. Something hit the back wall with a wet thud, not a rock. A dead rabbit. Skinned, blood dripping, and pinned to its chest. A note. Dunstan picked it up with shaking hands. Read it aloud. Federal Marshal arrives 14 days. He'll want to see the fugitive Apache and her stolen property. Better have answers ready. A friend. Sam's blood turned to ice. Ayanna's face had gone white. They know, she whispered. They know about Dakota. Chen was already at the door, scanning the street, but whoever threw it was gone. Sam looked at the rabbit, the blood, the message. 14 days until the marshal arrived, 28 days until Holloway took the land, and somewhere out there, someone was watching, keeping count. Sam carried Ayanna and the boys back to the ranch in the wagon bed, his mare tied behind. She sat with her back against the sideboard, both babies clutched to her chest, eyes scanning the horizon in that way he'd come to recognize. Looking for threats, always looking. Father Dunstan rode alongside, his old mare keeping pace. Chen had stayed behind to board up his window and document the threat. Evidence, he'd called it. Evidence for what, Sam didn't know. But the notary had that look men got when they decided to fight instead of fold. The sun hammered down, dust rose from the wheels. Nobody spoke until they were a mile from town, far enough that voices couldn't carry. I should leave, Ayanna said. Tonight, before the marshal comes. No. Sam. I said no. He didn't look back at her. Couldn't. If he saw her face, saw the fear there, he might agree, might let her go to keep her safe. And then Henry would starve, and Dakota would disappear into federal custody, and everything would have been for nothing. The marshal will take Dakota, she said, and they'll hang me for theft of government property. That's what they call it when you take back your own child. Not if you're my wife, Sam said. The wagon wheels creaked. A hawk screamed overhead. A piece of paper won't stop federal law, Ayanna said. Maybe not, but it's something. Sam pulled the wagon to a stop, turned to face her. You asked me what happens when we don't need each other anymore. When Dakota's safe and Henry's grown. You asked what this marriage is? She waited. It's a promise, he said. Not to love, not to stay forever, but to stand together when the wolves come. That's all I've got to offer. That and a ranch that might not be mine in 28 days. Ayanna looked at him for a long moment, then down at the boys, both asleep, faces peaceful, unaware of the threats circling them. All right, she said. We stand together. Sam nodded, turned back to the reins, but before he could snap them, Ayanna spoke again. Sam? Yeah? Thank you for not calling them stolen property. His hands tightened on the leather. They're not property, they're boys. Not everyone sees it that way. Then not everyone's looking. Mesa. They reached the ranch as the sun touched the mesa tops. Sam helped Ayanna down, then carried the boys inside while she straightened her skirts. Dunstan followed, already pulling his portable baptismal kit from his saddlebags. We do this tonight, the priest said, before anyone else gets ideas. The marriage? Sam asked. Both, marriage and baptism, make it official in every way that matters. Dunstan set the kit on the table, a small silver basin, a vial of holy water, a worn Bible. Chen will bring the legal documents tomorrow, but we start with God's law first. That one, Holloway can't touch. Ayanna laid the boys in their cradles, Henry in his, Dakota in the one she'd finished carving. The horse was complete now, galloping across the headboard with wild beauty. She'd worked on it every night, Sam realized. While he'd lain awake staring at the ceiling, she'd been creating something permanent. I need to change, she said quietly. Sam looked at her, dust-covered, milk-stained, exhausted. You look fine, he said. I'm getting married. Her voice carried something fragile. Even if it's just paper, even if it's just survival, I should... She gestured helplessly at herself. He understood then. This mattered to her. Ceremony mattered. The ritual of becoming something new, even if that something was built on necessity instead of love. There's a trunk, he said. In the bedroom. Anna's things. I haven't... His throat closed. I haven't touched them, but if you want... No, Ayanna said quickly. I won't wear her clothes. She'd want you to. You don't know that? I do. Sam crossed to the bedroom door, opened it for the first time in 4 months. The smell of lavender hit him like a fist. Anna's soap, her sachets in the drawers, her presents still hanging in the air like smoke. He walked to the trunk, opened it. Inside, dresses, shawls, her Sunday hat with the blue ribbon. He pulled out the simplest dress he could find. Gray cotton, nothing fancy, but clean and whole. When he turned, Ayanna stood in the doorway. She was shorter than me, Ayanna said, looking at the dress. She was. Sam held it out. But it'll do. Ayanna took it. Her fingers traced the stitching, tiny, perfect, Anna's work. What was she like? Sam closed the trunk. She sang when she churned butter, drove me crazy some days, that same song over and over. She wanted more children. Couldn't have them, doctors said, but she tried anyway. His voice cracked. She died trying. I'm sorry. So am I. He looked at Ayanna. But she'd be glad you're here. Glad Henry's got someone. She wouldn't want him raised by a man who can barely boil coffee. Ayanna almost smiled. You're better at coffee than you think. I'm really not. This time she did smile. Small, brief, but real. She changed behind the bedroom door while Sam scrubbed his face at the pump and put on his one good shirt, the one he'd worn to Anna's funeral. Dunstan busied himself setting up the baptismal basin, murmuring prayers in Latin. When Ayanna emerged, Sam's breath caught. The dress was too short, showing her ankles, too tight in the shoulders, but she'd braided her hair with a strip of leather and tucked a sprig of sage behind her ear. Apache custom, maybe. Something from her world brought into his. "You look—" He stopped. Couldn't find words that didn't feel like betrayal to Anna's memory. "Like someone pretending to be a wife?" Ayanna finished. "Like someone who is one," Dunstan said from the table. "If you're ready." Sam looked at Ayanna. She looked at the boys, sleeping peaceful in their cradles. Then she nodded. They stood before the priest in the fading light. No flowers, no music, no guests. Just 3 people and 2 babies and a promise made out of necessity. Dunstan opened his Bible. "Dearly beloved." "Wait," Sam said. He crossed to the barn, came back with the branding iron, his father's iron, rusted but solid. Set it by the hearth. "I want to do this right," he said. "Your way and mine, Christian and Apache. Make it real." Ayanna stared at the iron. "You want to brand something?" "Not something, someone." He gestured to the unfinished cradle. "Or what holds them, make them brothers, make us family." Understanding dawned in her eyes. A mark that can't be erased. "Yes," she nodded slowly, then looked at Dunstan. "Can you marry us first, before the branding?" "Of course, daughter." So they stood together in the fading light, and Father Dunstan married them, with words as old as stone. And when he said, "Yinasir," "You may kiss your bride," Sam hesitated. Ayanna solved it, pressed her lips to his cheek, quick and chaste. "Good enough," she whispered. "Good enough," he agreed. Outside, the sun dropped below the mesa, and 14 days away, a federal marshal saddled his horse. William Chin arrived at dawn with papers and his wife Li Mei, who carried a basket of rice cakes and tea. She bowed to Ayanna, spoke in halting Spanish, "para los niños," and set about boiling water like she belonged there. The marriage certificate lay on the table, official stamps and flourishes making it real. Chen had worked through the night. His eyes were bloodshot, but his hands stayed steady as he unfolded document after document. "Adoption petition," he said, pointing. "Homestead amendment showing married family unit. Baptismal records. Father Dunstan sent those over. And this—" He pulled out another paper. "Thomas's statement about the ledger discrepancies. Signed, witnessed, notarized." Sam picked up the statement, read it again in daylight. The numbers were clear. $800 original loan, $400 added in different ink, dates that didn't match. "How do we use this?" Sam asked. "Carefully." Chen adjusted his spectacles. "If we accuse Holloway now, he'll destroy evidence. But if we wait until the marshal arrives, we can present it as part of your defense." "Defense against what?" "Against whatever Holloway plans to accuse you of." Chen's voice went quiet. "Men like him don't stop at legal challenges. They escalate. The rabbit through my window? That's a warning. Next time it might be more than dead animals." Li Mei said something sharp in Chinese. Chen nodded. "My wife says we're not afraid of bullies," he translated. "She's braver than I am." Sam looked at these 2 people, immigrants who'd built a life in a territory that barely recognized their humanity, now risking everything to help a stranger. "Why are you doing this?" Chen met his eyes. "Because 5 years ago, when the town tried to run us out, your father stood in the land office and said, 'Chen's claim is legal and proper. Anyone who says different answers to me.' He was the only one who spoke." Chen's jaw tightened. "I owe him, and I owe you." Sam remembered that day, his father coming home, knuckles bruised from explaining things to a few particularly stubborn objectors. The old man had never mentioned it, just washed his hands and gone back to mending fence. "Pa would have liked you," Sam said. "The feeling is mutual." They spent the morning organizing papers, rehearsing statements, preparing for battles yet to come. Ayanna nursed the boys and listened, asking sharp questions about loopholes and precedents. Li Mei taught her how to sign her new name, Ayanna Bridger, in English script, guiding her hand with patient precision. By noon, Sam needed air. He walked outside, found himself at the fence where Holloway had posted the eviction notice. The nail hole was still there, empty now. Hoofbeats. He turned. 3 riders approaching from town, not Holloway's expensive horse, but working mounts. As they got closer, Sam recognized the lead rider, his brother. James Bridger, cavalry lieutenant, full uniform despite the heat. Sam's stomach dropped. James dismounted 20 feet away. The 2 soldiers with him stayed mounted, hands near their sidearms. Sam, James said. No warmth in it, just acknowledgement. James. Got your letter. His brother pulled it from his jacket, the one Sam had sent 3 weeks ago, explaining about Anna, about Henry, asking for help with the loan. Took a while to reach me. Cavalry's been ranging Apache territory. I know. James looked at the cabin, at the wagon, at the horse that wasn't Sam's mare, Ayana's stolen mount from the reservation probably. Heard you got married, James said. Heard she's Apache. She is. Also heard she's harboring a fugitive child. Federal property, seized from San Carlos under legal authority. Sam's jaw clenched. That's my stepson you're talking about. Your stepson for 3 days? That's convenient. James's voice stayed flat, but something dangerous moved underneath. I'm here official, Sam. Federal marshal's coming in 10 days. He sent advance riders. I volunteered. To arrest my wife? To give you a chance to fix this before it gets worse. James finally looked at him. Same eyes as Sam, same jaw, but harder. Let the Apache woman go. Give up the child. I'll testify you were deceived. Didn't know the law. You keep the ranch, keep your son, keep your name. And Ayana? Goes back to San Carlos, where she belongs. Sam took a step forward. The soldiers shifted, but James raised a hand. She's my wife, Sam said. Legally married. Father Dunstan presiding, William Chen witnessing. That makes Dakota my stepson. Federal law recognizes Apache as wards of the state. James cut in. She's got no legal standing to consent to marriage, which means your marriage isn't valid, which means the child is still federal property. He pulled another paper from his jacket. Territorial Code, Section 47. Apache individuals cannot enter into binding contracts without federal oversight. The words hit like bullets. That can't be right, Sam said. It's the law. James held out the paper. I'm sorry, brother, but this is how it is. Sam took it, read it. The words blurred, but the meaning stayed clear. Ayana couldn't legally marry him, which meant everything they'd done, the ceremony, the papers, the promises, was worthless. Behind him, the cabin door opened. Ayana stood there with both boys. She'd heard everything. Sam could see it in her face. How long have you known? She asked James. Since I got Sam's letter and started checking records. James's voice softened slightly. I'm trying to help, both of you, but the law says I'm not human enough to make my own choices, Ayana finished. Yes, I know. The Mission Sisters taught me to read those laws very carefully. James looked at her for a long moment. Then you know you can't win this. Maybe not. She shifted both boys higher. But I can make it costly. How? She smiled, no warmth in it. By making you arrest a nursing mother in front of her children. By making you tear a baby from the only family he's got. By making you explain to God and your conscience why you followed orders instead of doing what's right. James flinched. That's what I thought, Ayana said. The lieutenant looked at Sam. You've got 10 days. After that, I can't help you. You're not helping now, Sam said. James mounted his horse. The soldiers followed suit. Before leaving, he turned back. Father would have been ashamed, he said. Of both of us. Me for enforcing this law, you for breaking it. He touched his hat brim. But he'd have understood why. They rode off, dust trailing behind them. Sam stood there, paper in his hands, world collapsing again. Chen emerged from the cabin, face grim. I heard. Section 47, I should have checked. It doesn't matter, Ayana said. She set the boys in their cradles, then picked up the marriage certificate, looked at it. Paper never saved anyone anyway. She walked to the stove, opened it. Wait, Chen started, but Ayana fed the certificate to the flames. If the law says I can't be married, she said, watching it burn, then we'll find another law, or make one. Sam stared at her, at this woman who'd just destroyed the only legal protection she had. You got a plan? He asked. Not yet. She closed the stove. But we've got 10 days to think of one. Outside, thunder rumbled. Storm coming. The storm never came. Just thunder rolling across the mesa, promising rain that never fell. Sam spent the afternoon repairing fence posts, driving nails harder than necessary, trying to work out the rage building in his chest. Section 47. 3 words that made Ayana legally invisible. He was hammering the last post when hoofbeats approached. Not soldiers this time. Just one rider, Marcus Holloway on his bay gelding, expensive saddle gleaming even in the flat afternoon light. Sam set down the hammer, waited. Holloway dismounted slow, making a show of it. Tied his horse to the fence Sam had just repaired, pulled a flask from his jacket, took a long drink. "Hot day for fence work," he said. Sam said nothing. "Heard your brother paid a visit. Lieutenant Bridger, isn't it? Fine officer, doing his duty." Holloway capped the flask. "Must have been a hard conversation. What do you want, Marcus?" "To help." Holloway pulled an envelope from his jacket. Fat with something. "You're in a bad spot, Sam. Homestead review in 3 weeks. Marshal coming in 10 days. That Apache woman and her stolen child living under your roof." He shook his head. "It's a mess." "Get to it." Holloway opened the envelope. Cash. More than Sam had seen in years. He counted it out on the fence rail, slow and deliberate. $2,000, Holloway said. "Plus I'll pay off your bank loan. The real amount, $800, and I'll file paperwork saying the Homestead Review was satisfied." He looked up. "All you got to do is tell the marshal the truth when he arrives." "What truth?" "That the Apache woman showed up uninvited, that you gave her shelter out of Christian charity, that you didn't know she was a fugitive, or that the child was stolen property." Holloway's voice went smooth, reasonable. "You tell the marshal you were deceived, that you're willing to return federal property to proper custody. You do that, and this all goes away." Sam stared at the money. $2,000, more than his father had made in 5 years of ranching. Enough to pay the loan, buy equipment, hire help, enough to build a real life for Henry. All he had to do was give up Ayanna and Dakota. "The woman gets sent back to San Carlos," Holloway continued. "The half-breed child goes to a federal school. You keep your land, keep your son, keep your reputation." He smiled. "It's a good deal, Sam. Best you're going to get." The cash sat there on the fence rail. $20 bills, crisp and clean, the smell of them, new paper and ink mixed with the dust and sage. Sam picked up one bill, held it up to the light. Real, legal, his for the taking. "What happens to her?" he asked quietly. "At San Carlos?" Holloway shrugged. "She'll be fed, sheltered. It's not cruel, Sam. It's the law. Apache belong on reservations. That's how we keep the peace." "And Dakota?" "Federal school in Santa Fe. They'll teach him English, trade skills, make something of him." Holloway's voice carried certainty. "Better than growing up wild, thinking he's something he's not." Sam set the bill back on the rail, looked at the stack of money, at Holloway's confident face, at the future being offered, simple, clean, legal. Then he looked at the cabin. Ayanna stood in the doorway. She'd been listening. Her face showed nothing, but her hands were shaking. She'd told him once, "This isn't a real marriage. It's survival." But somewhere between the church steps and this moment, it had become something else. Not love, not yet, but the shape of it, the possibility of it. Two broken people choosing each other every day, even when easier choices appeared. Sam swept the money off the fence rail. It scattered in the dirt, bills tumbling in the hot wind. "Get off my land," he said. Holloway's smile vanished. "You're making a mistake." "Probably." Sam picked up the hammer. "But it's my mistake to make. You're choosing them over your birthright, over your father's legacy. My father's legacy was this land, and he taught me land without honor is just dirt." Sam pointed the hammer at Holloway. "You want this ranch? You'll have to take it, because I'm not giving it up. Not for $2,000, not for $20,000. Holloway's face went hard. "The marshal will arrest her. Take the child. You'll lose everything anyway." "Maybe." Sam lowered the hammer. "But I'll lose it standing with them, not selling them out." Holloway stared at him for a long moment. Then he dismounted, picked up the scattered bills with deliberate slowness. When he had them all, he looked at Sam one last time. "You could have been smart about this," he said. "Could have walked away clean. Instead, you're going to watch federal law tear your life apart." He mounted his horse. "And when it's over, when she's gone, and the child's in Santa Fe, and you're living in a borrowed shack, you remember this moment. Remember the choice you made." He rode off, leaving the smell of bay rum cologne and broken possibilities hanging in the air. Sam stood there, hammer in hand, watching him disappear into the dust. The cabin door closed. He turned. Ayanna was gone, back inside. He found her sitting between the cradles, both boys asleep. She wasn't crying, wasn't speaking, just sitting, one hand on each cradle, rocking them in rhythm. You should have taken it, she said without looking up. No. $2,000, Sam. Henry's future is watching his father do the right thing, even when it costs. Sam knelt beside her. Or it's watching his father sell out the people who need him because money's easier than courage. She finally looked at him. You barely know me. I know enough. In 10 days, the marshal comes. He'll take Dakota, arrest me. You'll have nothing. I'll have my word. Sam touched the cradle, the one she'd carved, with the galloping horse in intricate detail. And I'll have this, proof that something beautiful came from all this mess. Ayana's hand covered his on the cradle rail. I don't know how to fight federal law. Neither do I. Sam squeezed her hand. But Chen's smart, Dunstan's connected, and Thomas gave us evidence of Holloway's fraud. He looked at the boys, sleeping peaceful and unaware. We've got 10 days. We use them. She nodded slowly, then stood, crossed to the stove, and began stoking the fire. What are you doing? Sam asked. Heating the branding iron. She looked back at him. You said you wanted to make them brothers. Make us family. If we're going down, we go down, having done it right. Sam rose, walked to the barn, came back with the iron, his father's iron, heavy and scarred from decades of use. They heated it together in the forge outside, watching the metal glow orange, then yellow, then white. And when it was ready, Sam pressed it to the wooden cradle. Not the one Henry slept in, but the one meant for both boys. The Bridger brand burned deep, a simple B with a star above it. The smell of scorched pine filled the air. Smoke curled, the mark stayed. Permanent, undeniable, real. Ayana traced the burned wood with her fingers. It's done. It's done, Sam agreed. Inside the cabin, one of the boys began to cry, hungry probably, or just wanting comfort. Ayana went to feed him, and Sam stood outside, iron cooling in his hands, watching the horizon where the marshal would come from in 10 days, counting down, preparing. The marshal arrived on the 10th day, just past noon, when the sun beat down like judgment itself. Sam saw him coming from a mile off, single rider on a gray horse, dust trailing behind like a funeral veil, federal badge glinting even at distance. The man rode with authority, the kind that came from years enforcing laws he might not believe in, but would uphold anyway. Sam stood at the fence, Ayana beside him, both boys in her arms. Chen and Li Mei had arrived an hour earlier with all the documents. Father Dunstan sat on the porch, Bible open on his lap like a shield. The marshal dismounted 30 feet away, 50 years old, weathered face, eyes that had seen too much and remembered all of it. He tied his horse, adjusted his gun belt, walked forward slow. Samuel Bridger? That's me. Marshal Robert Hayes, Federal Territory. He pulled papers from his saddlebag. I'm here regarding reports of a fugitive Apache woman and an unlawfully removed minor child. His eyes went to Ayana. You her? I'm Ayana Bridger, she said. Steady, calm. Hayes's eyebrow rose. Bridger? My wife, Sam said. Since when? 11 days ago. Father Dunstan performed the ceremony. Hayes looked at the priest. Dunstan nodded confirmation. Territorial code says Apache can't enter binding contracts, Hayes said. That includes marriage. Then territorial code is wrong, Ayana said. The marshal almost smiled. Law doesn't work that way, ma'am. Then maybe it should. Hayes pulled another document. I've got a warrant for your arrest. Theft of federal property, specifically, one male child, approximately 10 months old, designated ward of the Bureau of Indian Affairs. He looked at Dakota, in her arms. That him? That's my son. Federal paperwork says different. Federal paperwork is forged, Chen said, stepping forward. He handed Hayes a folder. Ayana Delgado, now Bridger, gave birth to that child 11 months ago at San Carlos Reservation. Mission records confirm it. The seizure order was issued by Agent Burton under false pretenses, claiming the child was abandoned. He wasn't. He was taken from his mother's arms. Hayes opened the folder, read. His face didn't change, but something flickered in his eyes. Even if that's true, he said slowly, the child was legally seized under Bureau authority. Taking him back is still theft. And keeping him is kidnapping, Ayana said. Which crime matters more, Marshal? Hayes studied her. You got fire, I'll give you that. I've got a son, she corrected. Everything else is just words men use to take him away. The Marshal looked at Sam. You know what you're caught in the middle of? Yes, sir. And you're standing with her anyway? I am. Hayes shook his head. You're either the bravest man I've met or the dumbest. Probably both, Sam said. The marshal almost smiled again. Then his face went serious. He walked closer, examining both boys. Henry had Sam's coloring, pale skin, light hair. Dakota was darker, Apache features clear. "Which one's yours?" Hayes asked Sam. "Both. By blood, I mean." "Both," Sam repeated. "I branded their cradle with my father's iron, fed them, protected them. That makes them mine." Hayes looked at the cabin, at the fence, at the branded cradle visible through the open door. "You really married her?" he asked quietly. "I did." "Why?" Sam didn't hesitate. "Because she saved my son's life. Because she stayed when she could have run. Because—" He stopped, found the words. "Because family isn't just blood. It's choice. And I chose them." The marshal stood silent for a long moment. The wind picked up, carrying dust and the smell of sage. Then Hayes did something unexpected. He removed his hat. "I had a daughter," he said. 8 years ago. Stagecoach attack. Mescalero territory. Everyone killed. Driver, passengers, guards. His voice went rough. Everyone except Sarah. She was 9. Hid under the seats, covered in blood that wasn't hers. He looked at Ayanna. Apache woman found her 3 days later. Half dead from sun and thirst. Woman kept her alive, walked her 20 miles to Fort Stanton, wouldn't give her name, just handed Sarah over and disappeared. Hayes' jaw tightened. "I've been looking for that woman 11 years. Never found her. Never got to say thank you." Ayanna's eyes widened. "The scar," she whispered. "On your daughter's hand, shaped like a crescent moon." Hayes froze. "How do you know that?" "Because I bandaged it." Ayanna's voice shook. "Because I carried her on my back when she couldn't walk anymore. Because I sang to her in Spanish so she wouldn't be afraid." The world stopped. Hayes stared at her. "You?" Her name was Sarah. She talked about horses, about her father, the marshal, who was going to take her to see the ocean someday. Ayanna smiled, broken. "I told her you'd come, that men like you always come for their children." The marshal's hand went to his mouth. His shoulders shook once, hard, then steadied. "You saved my daughter's life," he said. "I did what any mother would do." Hayes looked at Dakota, at Henry, at the cabin and the fence and the life these people had built from desperation and hope. Then he pulled the warrant from his jacket. Sam's heart stopped. The marshal walked to the forge. Still warm from yesterday's branding, he held the warrant over the coals. "What are you doing?" Sam asked. "Following the law." Hayes dropped the paper. It curled, blackened, caught fire. "The law says I'm supposed to enforce justice. And far as I'm concerned, justice says a woman who saves children gets to keep her own." He looked at Sam. "Your marriage legal?" "Father Dunstan says it is." "Then it is." Hayes turned to Chen. "You got adoption papers drawn up?" "Right here." Chen handed them over. Hayes signed them without reading. "Samuel Bridger, you are hereby recognized as legal guardian of—" He looked at Ayanna. "Dakota Delgado," she said. "Dakota Bridger," the marshal corrected, writing it in. "Effective immediately." He handed the papers back. "Anyone questions it, they can file a complaint in Santa Fe. I'll burn that one too." Sam couldn't speak, could barely breathe. Ayanna was crying now, silent tears streaming down her face. Hayes put his hat back on. "One more thing." He pulled another document. "There's been a complaint filed against a Marcus Holloway. Fraud, forgery, conspiracy to defraud a homestead claimant." He looked at Chen. "You William Chen?" "I am." "You got evidence to support these charges?" Chen handed over Thomas's statement, the photographed ledgers, the original loan document. Hayes read through it all. His face went hard. "Where's Holloway now?" "Town," Sam said. "Land office." "Then that's where I'm headed next." Hayes mounted his horse, looked down at them. Sam, Ayanna, the boys, the family they'd built from nothing. "You folks did good. Against odds that should have crushed you, you did good." "Marshal," Ayanna called. "Your daughter, Sarah, is she—" "She's 17 now, studies medicine in Philadelphia, wants to be a doctor." Hayes smiled, real this time. "Says she's going to help people who don't have anyone else." I asked her why once. She said, "It's 'cause someone helped me when I was no one." He touched his hat brim. "I never forgot, and I never will." He rode off toward town, dust trailing behind. They stood there in silence, holding signed papers that made them legal, real, protected. Father Dunstan closed his Bible. "Well," he said, "I'd say that's about as close to a miracle as we're likely to get." Chen laughed, high and relieved. Li Mei started crying. Ayana sank to her knees, still holding both boys, and Sam knelt beside her. "It's over," she whispered. "It's over," he agreed. But even as he said it, hoofbeats sounded again. They looked up. Marcus Holloway, riding hard from town, Marshall Hayes behind him. Holloway's hands were bound. The land speculator's face was purple with rage as they passed. He didn't look at Sam, didn't look at anything but the horizon ahead and the federal jail waiting there. Hayes tipped his hat as he rode by, prisoner in tow, and just like that, the threat was gone. Sam helped Ayana to her feet. The boys had fallen asleep in her arms, exhausted from the tension they couldn't understand but had felt anyway. "We should celebrate," Chen said. "We should rest," Ayana countered. Sam looked at the cabin, at the branded cradle visible through the door, at the family he'd chosen and the family that had chosen him back. "We should live," he said. "Just live." 3 weeks later, the homestead inspector arrived. Sam saw him coming the same way he'd seen the marshal, dust cloud on the Mesa Road, single rider, official business written in his posture. But this time, Sam didn't tense, just wiped his hands on his trousers and waited. The inspector was younger than expected, 30 maybe, spectacles, neat suit already dusty from the ride. He carried a leather case and a clipboard, checking things off as he approached. "Mr. Bridger? That's me. Albert Morrison, Territorial Land Office. I'm here for your homestead review." He pulled papers from the case. "Says here you've been granted an extension due to..." He adjusted his spectacles, reading. "Due to federal investigation into irregularities in the original filing. Is that correct?" "Yes, sir." "And you're now claiming this as a family homestead? Married with children?" "2 children." Sam gestured to the cabin. "My wife's inside if you need to speak with her." Morrison made notes. "I'll need to see proof of agricultural productivity, family residency, and moral fitness." He looked around the ranch. New fence posts, repaired barn door, vegetable patch showing green shoots. "You've made improvements." "Yes, sir." "Recent improvements?" "Last 3 weeks." Morrison walked the property line, measuring, photographing with a box camera, asking questions Sam answered with simple honesty. When they reached the well, Ayana emerged from the cabin with both boys. She'd dressed carefully, the gray dress, hair braided, face scrubbed clean. She carried Dakota on one hip, Henry on the other, moving with the easy competence of a woman who'd been doing this her whole life. "Mrs. Bridger?" Morrison asked. "Yes. I need to verify family composition for the record." He consulted his clipboard. "You're married to Samuel Bridger, ceremony performed by Father Dunstan, witnessed by William Chen?" "Yes." "And these children are..." "Henry Bridger, 9 months old." She shifted him forward. "And Dakota Bridger, 11 months. Adopted son." She met the inspector's eyes without flinching. "Legal papers filed with Federal Marshal Hayes. All proper." Morrison made more notes, asked about water sources, crop yields, livestock counts. Ayana answered questions about household management, food stores, plans for winter. She spoke clearly, confidently, like a woman who belonged exactly where she was. When Morrison asked to see the interior, Sam showed him. The main room was clean, organized. 2 cradles sat side by side, the rail between them removed so they formed one long bed. Both boys slept there together now, hands touching even in sleep. Morrison noticed the brand burned into the wood. "Family mark?" "Yes, sir, my father's." Sam touched it. "Passed to my sons now." "Sons, plural." "Yes, sir." The inspector examined the brand for a long moment. Then he made a final note and closed his clipboard. "Mr. Bridger, I'm recommending approval of your homestead claim. You've demonstrated clear agricultural productivity, stable family structure, and, he glanced at Ayana, at the boys, at the life they'd built, and considerable moral fitness under challenging circumstances." Sam's knees almost buckled. "Thank you." "Don't thank me. Thank whoever taught you that land's only worth something if you've got family to share it with." Morrison packed his case. "You'll receive official confirmation in 6 weeks. Until then, this land is yours, free and clear." After he left, Sam and Ayana stood in the yard watching dust settle. "It's really over," she said. "It is." She looked at him. "What happens now?" "Now?" Sam thought about it. "Now we plant winter wheat, fix the barn roof before snow comes, teach the boys to walk." He smiled. "Normal things. Boring things. I've never had boring, Ayana said quietly. Me neither, not for a long time. They stood in comfortable silence. The boys woke and fussed, and Ayana went to feed them. Sam checked the fence line one more time, making sure everything was secure. That evening, as the sun dropped below the mesa, Father Dunstan and the Chens arrived with food and wine. A celebration, they called it. A Thanksgiving. They ate on the porch, beef stew, rice cakes, cornbread, dishes from 3 different worlds sharing one table. The boys passed between arms, everyone taking turns holding them. Li Mei sang a lullaby, in Chinese. Dunstan told stories about Sam's father. Chen raised a toast in English, Spanish, and Mandarin. And somewhere in the middle of it all, Sam looked at Ayana across the table. She was laughing at something Dunstan said, face lit by lamplight, one hand on Henry's back while he dozed against her shoulder. She looked younger when she laughed, less haunted, more like the woman she might have been if the world had been kinder. She caught him staring, raised an eyebrow. He smiled, shook his head, nothing. But it wasn't nothing. It was the moment he realized this arrangement, this marriage of convenience, this survival pact, had become something else when he wasn't looking, had become real. Later, after their guests left and the boys slept in their branded cradle, Sam and Ayana sat on the porch. The night was clear, stars thick as spilled salt. "Your brother wrote," Ayana said, pulling a letter from her pocket. "It came this afternoon." Sam took it, opened it, read by lamplight. Sam, "Heard about the marshal's ruling, heard about Holloway's arrest, heard you kept the land and the family. I was wrong, about the law, about you, about what matters." Father would have been proud. "Not of the rules you broke, but of the ones you kept, the ones that count. If you'll have me, I'd like to visit. Meet my nephews. Make things right between us. James." Sam folded the letter, set it aside. "Will you let him come?" Ayana asked. "Yes. Even after what he did?" He was following orders, doing what he thought was right. Sam looked at her. "Can't fault a man for that. Can only hope he learns better." Ayana nodded, leaned her head against his shoulder. They sat like that for a long time, listening to the night sounds, wind through cottonwoods, distant coyotes, the soft breathing of children asleep inside. "Sam," she said finally. "Yeah? Thank you for not taking Holloway's money." "Wasn't a choice." "Not really." "It was." She lifted her head, looked at him. "You chose us over everything else. I won't forget that." He wanted to say something profound, something that matched the weight of the moment, but all he could manage was, "I'd do it again." She smiled, kissed his cheek. "I know." Inside, one of the boys cried out, "Nightmare, maybe." Ayana rose to check on them. Sam followed. They stood over the branded cradle, watching their sons sleep tangled together, impossible to tell where one ended and the other began. Brothers, not by blood, but by choice, like everything else in this family. Sam put his arm around Ayana's waist. She leaned into him, and in the quiet of that moment, in the home they'd built from desperation and grace, they were finally, completely home. They still talk about it in San Miguel. The summer a rancher married an Apache woman and fought federal law with nothing but a branding iron and the truth. Some folks say it was luck, others say it was God's hand, a few still mutter it was foolishness that happened to work out. I reckon it was simpler than all that. It was 2 people who'd lost everything deciding that nothing left to lose meant everything to gain. Sam and Ayana stayed married. Not on paper, at first. That took another year, and a territorial judge with more courage than sense. But in the ways that mattered, they were bound from the moment he refused Holloway's money, from the moment she fed his son when nobody else would. Henry and Dakota grew up not knowing which was white and which was Apache until some fool kid at school tried to make it matter. By then, they'd built half the ranch together and couldn't have cared less about the question. They had matching scars from the same branding iron accident when they were 12, tried to mark a fence post, marked each other instead. Ayana nearly skinned them both. Sam just laughed. The ranch prospered. Sam learned Apache water finding. Ayana learned to read English law books. Together they taught their sons that family isn't about who you start with. It's about who you choose when the choosing gets hard. Marcus Holloway served 6 years, got out, tried to file another claim, found out every notary in the territory knew his name. Last anyone heard, he was selling tonic in Tucson. Nobody bought it. Father Dunstan baptized 4 more irregular families before he died. Said that branding ceremony taught him more about God than 40 years of preaching. William Chen became the most trusted notary in New Mexico. Turned out frontier justice runs on witnesses, and he knew how to find the right ones. Marshall Hayes visited twice, once to meet the boys, once to tell Ayanna his daughter had become a doctor. She wept both times. And that branding iron still hangs over the door at the old Bridger place. New families live there now, but they keep it mounted. Some marks, once made, don't fade. Some promises, once kept, echo forever. The dust settled. The family stayed. That's how you know it was real.